So today we're going to sit with watching the thought stream, and in particular we're going to work with judgment. Judging ourselves internally is an experience that I'm sure most people can relate to. One of the benefits of meditation and mindfulness practices is that we can start to see the judgments that are present and maybe open up some space for self-compassion. When we sit with this noticing of the thought stream, there are often disturbing things that we see. Sometimes we see jealous thoughts or aggressive thoughts. Mindfulness of these thought patterns can be really helpful, and it can also be very difficult. One of the things that tends to happen when we see something in ourselves, either during a practice like this or just during our day, when we see something in ourselves that we're not very happy about, that we think shouldn't be there, or we think we should be better than that, or we wish it wasn't there, or we recognize that it's something that causes a lot of suffering for ourselves or perhaps for others, that we often move into judgment around that. It can feel very much like we're hardening down, we're contracting around it. So today, as we're working with noticing judgment, this could be something that we've noticed a pattern in ourselves of this. It could be something that's coming up fresh right now. And as we work with it, there are a couple of key components. One is to notice and keep in mind that we're looking at content. We're looking at words, we're looking at images, and we're looking at sensation. So with words, we can either hear them or see them if we put them up like they're spelled out in front of us. With images, we can see them. We can't hear images or feel images, we can see them. And they come up as color and light and shape. And then the mind makes meaning out of them, which often comes up in words and in sensation or energy in the body. And with energy, all we can do with energy is feel it. We can't see energy unless it becomes an image. We can't hear energy. And with each of these components of words, images, and sensation, there's a lot of flow between them. Often there's Velcro where things are stuck together. And it's important to notice as we're going through this practice of looking at judgment, to notice that this is what's happening. There are words, images, and sensation. There's also the witnessing of those, the observing of those. So there's some part of us other than the thought or the sensation. There's something in us that's looking and noticing. And there's also the space in which it's all arising. So we could look at that as the space the body is occupying. It's generally where thoughts and sensations are seen to be coming up in. We can also look at it as that larger space of awareness or presence. And the other key component to sitting with something that's difficult, like judging ourselves, is to see if we can have a possibility of some compassion. If we can hold this with some openness, some ability to see that there's some suffering here, there's some contraction and hardening, and to see if we can hold that in some awareness of compassion for ourselves, for other people that might be involved. Seems to be the nature of judging ourselves and judging others, that there's a lot of holding, a lot of contraction, a lot of shutting down. So keeping our attention a little bit on the breath, on the space the body is occupying, on the space in which this is arising, and touching back into that possibility for compassion. Can allow this to be more productive, or this practice can be something that's helpful. So even as I've been speaking, there's probably been thoughts coming up, maybe sensations as well. Most of us can very easily come up with a lot of thoughts and evidence around judging ourselves. We might have heard those things from other people. We might have had this theme going since childhood of a core belief around something, that we're stupid or we're not worthy, or there's a variety of deficiency stories that could have formed through our lives. And when we look at the evidence for those, most of us can come up with a lot of evidence for that. There might be images and words, lots of memories that kind of prove to us that that's the case. So if something's coming up where you're feeling like you've got something right now that you're looking at where you've been judging yourself, work with that. Otherwise, sit with it and allow something to come forward. Or simply remember, okay, this is a common thing that I've judged myself for. I'm going to look at those words or that memory, the evidence around that. Oftentimes, judgments come with regret. There could be blaming or shame. It can often be quite potent. If we look at something like, I'm jealous. I hate it that I'm jealous of someone else's happiness. Or it could be, I'm lazy. It could be, what's the matter with me that I can't eat properly all the time? So whatever's coming up for you, notice that it's coming up in this space of awareness, that it's being noticed, it's being witnessed. Notice it's coming up in the space the body is occupying. Words and images will come up generally in the space of the head, behind the forehead, behind the eyes. And sensations will come through the whole of the body. Sometimes it's quite intense in a certain part of the body. So first looking at thought, noticing how it is that thought is coming up around judging. There could be words, still pictures, video clips. Take whatever it is that you're working with and put all the evidence for that up onto like a big poster board or a big whiteboard. Something where you can put images, words, memories. Don't hold back. Really let it come forward. How is it that you know that this is the case? You might be remembering times that you've judged yourself for this thing. You could see that as an image. Also, we can feel that in our bodies. So noticing the sensation in your body as well, noticing your breath too. Noticing the awareness from head to toes. And at the same time, gather all of your evidence. There might be too many things to put onto a single board, so choose some that are representative. And then come to a stop with it when you feel like you have enough there to really have a good look at. And notice that these are all a big collage of images, words, memories, video clips, still pictures. This is some of the evidence that's come up to support your claim, whatever it is that you're judging yourself about. And then see if you can see it. Now that you've looked really in a kind of a detailed way, you can look at individual pictures. You can also back up and see if you can see it as an overall collage that's made up of many images, words. And then see if you could put some space around it, like this is a collage that's hanging on a big wall. There's a frame around it, there's empty space all around it. If it's helpful to open your eyes and put it on a wall out in front of you, feel free to do that. So there might be some pull. Certain images or words might feel like they're kind of snapping your attention back into there. That's fine, just have a little look and then come back to noticing that there's images and words on a big board and there's space all around that. And as you're looking at the content that's there and as you're looking at the space all around it, notice what's happening in your body. Notice if there's a response in your body, if there's energy or sensation present in your body. Notice if it's relatively easy to keep the space around this collection of evidence, or if there's a compulsion to move right back into one or two in particular. And as you're looking through the content, just notice it's made up of words and images, colors, shapes, light, dark. Notice if there's particular images that are drawing you in. And remain in this noticing of the witnessing. And notice what it feels like when you get drawn into a particular memory or image or piece of evidence. Notice the feeling in your body from head to toes. Notice the sensation that might be present as you're looking at this evidence. And see if it's possible to hold this whole experience in awareness and in compassion. When we're judging ourselves and there's contraction in the body, there's tightening around it, there's a not wanting to be present with that. With judging, we often hear that critical tone of voice. Maybe we're using it on ourselves. Maybe someone else's voice is present and they're telling us what it is that's wrong with us, what we're doing wrong, what we need to change. In that cold, hostile voice or that heated, angry voice, notice the words often come through as sounds when we're talking about judgment. And with those sounds, there might be images, someone's face. Maybe it's an image of ourselves. And allowing yourself to remember that it might be possible to hold this whole experience in a sense of compassion, kindness. One thing we could do is to recognize how difficult it is when we judge ourselves or when someone else judges us. That we suffer when we harden up, we contract around it, we try to protect ourselves. Judgment might trip some of our core beliefs or core deficiency stories like I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. If I was good enough, this wouldn't be happening. And as you're noticing whatever it is that's coming up, see that from this space of awareness. This is content that's arising as words and images and sensation. There might be a lot of charge around it. Notice your breath, notice your body. And if you're quite absorbed in particular experience or words, sounds, see if you can back that up a little bit. Notice that they're all up there as this wall of evidence. All these memories, all these connections and associations, things that are linked. There's the sensations and feelings that are in your body in reaction or response to it. Notice that all around your body that there's space. There's sensation in your body, there's space all around the sensation. The sensation doesn't fill the whole universe, it's in the space of your body or very close to it. Sensation has boundaries and edges. You can also notice specifics about sensation if it feels like there's a lot of pressure, if it feels dense or solid, if there's movement. You might have images of sensation. We could notice if this sensation seems to be here to hurt us. Is there some malevolent intent in the sensation? And not to let the conscious mind answer. Let the question just kind of sit there and see what comes up. We have words and images, this wall of evidence that backs up the claim that we really are damaged in some way. There's something wrong. There's this experience that we have of being judged by someone else or being judged by ourselves. And there's sometimes an experience of being completely dragged into that. And then there's an experience of coming back and noticing what it is that's happening. And we can notice how difficult it is to suffer in this way. Notice the particulars of how it feels when we're being judged, when we judge ourselves, when someone else judges us. And hold all of that in the space of awareness, space of kindness. Notice that there's space all around the evidence, that we're looking at images, we're hearing sounds, we're seeing words. And that none of those images or words are actually who we are. These are words and images that are content that's being seen. If the evidence still feels quite compelling, if your attention is being drawn into the evidence, see if you can take that step back and with some space around the evidence, put some space around the images, the words, the sounds, however it is that they're appearing. See if you can see it with space around it. And now take your attention out of the content and put it into the space all around the content. And with your eyes still closed, trace the space on the outside, going in a clockwise direction a few times. Take your time. Moving your eyes just in the space outside of that evidence. To the right, down, along the bottom to the left, back up to the top, to the right. We already know the content, no need to look at that. We're just focusing on the space. A few more times going clockwise and then reverse the direction, going counterclockwise. Keeping your attention on the space outside of the evidence. And when you finish, look right back at that wall of evidence again. Notice that there's space between you and the evidence. You could open your eyes if you wanted and put it on a wall, or you can have it in your mind's eye with your eyes closed. Notice that these words and images are being observed. Notice if there's any shift in how that experience is happening right now. Keeping your awareness on the space in which it's arising, in that observing that's happening. And in that willingness to be present with this with a sense of compassion or kindness for ourselves. A recognition of the suffering that comes with this pattern of judging. And then take a few deep breaths, returning your awareness back into your physical body. Notice the sensation, notice the breath. Relax your forehead and your eyebrows, jaw and the mouth. the back of the neck, the large muscles of the shoulders and the back. The arms all the way to the fingers. The whole face, the front of the body, the front of the chest, the stomach area, and down into the legs and the feet and the toes. Being aware of your body, of the breath, of the content of the mind, of the experience of looking in this way. And when you're ready, open your eyes.